What do you want us to know about nurturing children and why?
Yeah, thank you. So I did a presentation a couple years ago to a mothers of young kids group, and I called it Everything I Wish a Therapist Had Told Me When I First Became a Mother. So this is kind of akin to that. I am a therapist, so this is what younger Bronwyn needed to hear 21 years ago, but any time in the last 21 years would have been great. So I think what we really need to all remember is that what children need most from us as their parent is not food and clothing, it's love. And love isn't a sentiment we feel. Kids don't even know what we feel. They don't care. What matters to them is active love, where they feel love. Because there's lots of parents who are like, oh man, I really love my kid, but that kid doesn't feel loved. And I think, you and I, and maybe every single person listening might relate to that as we were once children. So, what we need to do is actively love our children through nurture. And that is what we call in the therapy world attunement, which really comes down to listening at every age, every stage. And listening means when it's a newborn baby, listening to their cry, and it means responding and listening to the point where we actually are able to start to distinguish a cry for food from a cry for needing to be put down for a nap, because those are actually different cries. And that takes time. That takes us being patient with ourselves and our child, knowing that Rome was not built in a day, and knowing that this child is a different child than maybe a previous child we've had, and really listening to that child. And it also means responding to that child. And once we start to do that, again, that's not easy. It's not easy. It's way easier to hear one cry and then every cry just pop a bottle in that child's mouth. So much easier initially. But over time, it's so much easier to make that upfront investment and learn to listen to the child, because the child isn't always wanting a bottle, even though it might always quiet them. The child needs to be hugged and held at times. The child needs sleep at times. The child does need food at times. And so, what we're doing when we really prioritize that child's cry or voice or need in that moment and respond, and we're not going to do it perfectly by any means, but as we learn how to do that better and better, we're attuning to that child, and that child is learning that they matter. Because when their feelings are heated and when their needs are met consistently, good enough, what we call a good enough parent, they learn I matter. My feelings matter. My needs matter. I matter. And there's no shortcut to that, because you can tell a child later in life that they matter and it means nothing. We need to listen for them to really know that they matter and respond. So that is attunement, and that looks like that for a baby. For an older child, it looks like listening. It looks like really listening. And, let's say little Johnny is angry. We still listen and we say, you know what, Johnny, I hear you. And I don't blame you for being angry with me right now. It's hard to walk away from the playground. I don't blame you. You are totally fine to be angry with me, but you can't kick and scream. You need to use your words and say, Mommy, I don't like that. Or you can even say, Mommy, I don't like you right now. So we can have boundaries with that child, but we can still listen and attune by validating their feelings, even when those feelings don't feel good on our end. It's our job to stay the adult and let them be the child and give them parameters for their anger. So that's attunement for like an older child. For, let's say a 10-year-old, it's just listening and really listening and asking good questions and saying, you know, Terrain, it sounds like you're upset today. It sounds like what your teacher did kind of might have made you feel humiliated. Is that right? And it's like really listening to their feelings, imagining what they're feeling in that moment. So maybe Terrain didn't say the word humiliated, but I did because I'm putting myself in Terrain's, I'm imagining I'm Terrain after what he just told me happened with the teacher. And that's empathy. That's what empathy is. It's imagining, it's an act of the imagination. It's imagining I'm my son and what he just experienced in the classroom today, and then naming it. And that makes little Terrain feel like he matters. And when we attune to a child over time consistently, they learn that they matter. They learn that they are loved actively, and they become very powerful people in the best way possible because they have the ego strength later in life to walk away from the abusive boss, to end the abusive romantic relationship. They have that kind of ego strength. They are powerful in a good way because they learned all throughout their childhood that they matter. Now, do we also need to let our children know that we matter? Yes. So if Johnny is having a tantrum and he's kicking and screaming, I can say, you know what, Johnny, that hurts and it's making me angry. And so when I say that, when I give him that honest feedback, I'm letting him know that he matters and I matter. We both matter. And that is so important for children to learn. But that's basically the bottom line of nurture. Active love is listening. And you know what kids don't need from us is advice. Oh my God, they do not need advice. What they need is us to listen and then say something like, let's say it's 10-year-old Terrain, when you felt humiliated, what did you need in that moment? And 10-year-old Terrain is going to surprise you with going, you know what? I think I needed just to say, I need a timeout, or whatever. But what kids need is for us to listen and then trust them to figure it out and create an environment, a safe environment between us right now in this conversation where I'm listening and helping him figure it out on his own. And then I could say, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. Or I could say, what about this in addition to that? And maybe Terrain's going to go, yeah, you know what, I could use that too. So to collaborate, to trust our kids, to show them that they matter, that we trust them. And when we show that to them, when we display that in our relationship, they internalize that and they trust themselves. They learn to trust themselves. And so what does not benefit them is saying, when I was your age, Terrain, you know what I did when I was 10, you know what the teacher did to me. No, this is not about us. It is not about us. What we need is to be that sounding board for them, to validate, to name those feelings that they're having, and to help them figure it out. And they become powerful and very intelligent people.
You use the word attunement. And what do you think then are some of the obstacles parents face when it comes to being attuned with their child, the nurturing and making sure they're not saying, well, back in my day, it was this way?
Yeah, I think the underlying paradigm is, if you go back to like the shame and honor culture, which we all came from, originally, is that the oldest person knows more and they have all this wisdom and my daughter actually taught me this, ironically, she's 21, that in education system there's what's called the banking method where the teacher knows everything and they're the expert and the child's like some blank slate, and so they just like bank the knowledge, they just impart it. And and kids don't learn that way. No one learns that way. None of us learn that way. It's far from ideal. So if we can see them as like they're not a blank slate and we don't have all the knowledge and wisdom, and we can collaborate, we can really help them figure it out in real time, and um and get away from that shame and honor paradigm which says I have so much to offer you and you have nothing, but see them as so much more than a blank slate, as little mini humans that need a place to talk things through and process and to feel and know that they matter to the adult.
Growing up, I remember hearing that your parents knew everything, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. And it came across as difficult for some parents to maybe show vulnerability in their parenting style, or worse yet,
Mhm.
to realize that maybe they don't know everything.
Yeah.
Do you find it what are your thoughts on the difficulty that maybe parents face in being honest with themselves,
Hmm.
that maybe they don't have all the answers and it's okay to reach out and find the answers?
I kind of see the opportunity to become a parent as a wonderful opportunity for us as parents to finally grow up. And I'm going to just reference my own experience. We come to it going, "Oh, I get to be an expert. I get to be the boss. I get to like whatever." And then we go, "I don't know what I'm doing." And to have and develop that humility and to be a learner and to not just learn from experts, but to learn from our child. That's the ultimate humility. And to get to know each child on its own terms. This Johnny gets angry at this, but Susie gets angry at this, and just be a learner and then learn about ourselves. And that is the most beautiful journey I have ever been on. I only have one child, but I am so glad I did because she gave me an opportunity to become humble, to own my own baggage, to apologize to her, which I did, and I still do at times, and to learn from her. She's not the expert. I'm not the expert. We learn together. And maybe I have more lived experience, but man, she's got a sharp little brain, and we can do this together. So I think it's a great opportunity to learn to be a real grown up, which is someone who has humility and is always learning.
For the parents out there who are, let's say, seasoned parents, current parents, or even parents in waiting, how much of an impact does their own childhood have on the way that they would then parent their children?
Yeah. So it has a huge impact. And I like to say that we are kind of doomed to repeat uh, what our parents did with us unless we have a wake up and are able to really open our eyes and take them off the God throne, really, to kind of take them off the divine pedestal and see them as humans, you know, who were just frail humans and feel angry at how they failed us. And when I say that, all parents are human as far as I know. And so they all fail us, all of them, the best parents. And for us to get angry at that, we don't need to tell the parent we're angry. The parent doesn't need to be alive for us to do this, but we can feel the anger. And that anger helps kind of create a distance, a detachment, a healthy detachment in our mind, in our heart, where we cannot repeat the same thing they did with us. It empowers us actually.
In my, I'm going to age myself, Bronwyn, for a minute here. In my early 20s, I wanted to get married and have children so badly. Like this fantasy was becoming a reality because I wanted it so badly. But the source of it was because I didn't have a healthy family growing up. So I said, if I didn't have one as a child, I'm going to create one myself. The
Yeah.
problem, what happened with that is that I would search for whomever. Bronwyn, you want to start a family? Okay, let's start a family, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't healthy vetting. And thank God that I didn't go through with that and I didn't have a family that I didn't prepare myself enough for it. I was just doing it to make up for something that I felt that I lost. But I share that because I look back on so many people who feel imprisoned by the childhood that they've experienced. And they don't realize that they're bringing that trauma, that struggle, many things that they didn't like about their own childhood into their own parenting
Yeah.
experience, right? Why do you think so many people have a blind spot to their parents who you said that is in like this glass box that they're unable to take them out of and see them for
Mhm.
people, but they still struggle in their own experiences.
Yeah, so we are all blind to ourselves first and foremost, and we have a blind spot for our parents. And that's because, we haven't. So when I said, becoming a parent it gives us a great opportunity to become a grown up. The difference between a child and a grown up is the grown up child can have objectivity about their own parents, but that's work. That doesn't just happen one day. You don't just wake up and go, oh my God, my parents were just figuring it out too, whatever. So, and becoming a parent can help us kind of do that. Like, oh, wow, I remember when I was a kid. Oh, and so if we're willing, it takes a willingness. It's just a willingness. It's just a choice to go, I want to take my parents off the God pedestal and have that healthy objectivity with them. And I know I'm going to feel a lot of anger. I might even feel hatred, and that's okay. Because if we're honest, we feel both love and hate towards everyone in our lives who's close to us. It's always a love hate relationship if we're honest with ourselves. So if we can have that, objectivity and become the grown up in how we view our parent, that's going to actually grow us up. That does more than just give us a new way of seeing. It's going to help us to see ourselves and come out of that denial and then start to see those things in ourselves and move away from them. And that takes that anger, because anger, again, I could tell a client to have a boundary and they might carry it out for a week or two. But when they start to feel the anger at the person they need the boundary with, I don't need to tell them to have a boundary. They're going to have a boundary. So that's what anger does. It really helps kind of create order in our lives by separating right from wrong in real time, but also just mentally to kind of create order in our minds and really see things. Um, it gets rid of that chaos and it gives us clarity.